I felt that the announcement of this crisis in September, just a few weeks before election, was very suspicious. This is when Congress is the most nervous, and I thought, wait a minute, what's going on here? This is not normal.
The leadership of Congress and the Bush administration quickly held a series of private meetings with the titans of Wall Street to figure out just how much money was needed to cover all the bad bets investors had made. A deal was cut with Treasury Secretary Henry Paulson, the former CEO of Goldman Sachs, whose net worth was estimated at $700 million when he left Goldman to go and run the Treasury Department.
I think we saw the best of the United States of America in the Speaker's office tonight.
The best of America? Or did he mean the best of Goldman Sachs?
The Treasury Department, it's basically an arm of Wall Street. All the people in charge were from Goldman Sachs.
We call it Government Goldman in the modern era.
That's because there were now numerous former Goldman executives inside the Bush Treasury Department, as there were under Clinton. They worked as powerful lobbyists from the inside to abolish financial regulations while we paid their salaries.
Treasury Secretary Paulson, he wasn't just randomly at Goldman, he was the guy at Goldman who got them big time into buying these exotic housing derivatives. So he got Goldman in a huge amount of trouble.
Insane housing derivatives had now destroyed much of Goldman's competition, and with the Goldman boys now calling the shots inside the government, they would ensure that Goldman would end up as the kings of Wall Street when the dust settled.
So the last possible people that should be giving advice to Treasury would be Goldman. So naturally Paulson, former CEO of Goldman, puts them on. And what advice do they end up giving? Well, to use the taxpayers to bail out Goldman and other favored financial institutions.
Well, Secretary Paulson has submitted a simple proposal to Congress. This is it, 3 pages. It's about $1 billion a word, and it is quite simple. Secretary Paulson gets the key to the Treasury. He's going to start off by borrowing $700 billion in the name of the American people, maybe more later, and it waives all laws, not even court review. Pretty simple proposal.
We are in a real crisis situation that could mushroom into something worse than the Great Depression.
So I saw fear. One gentleman started to cry. People are telling us that, it's going to be this gigantic calamity. And I'm up for election in 2 months, 8 weeks away from election. I don't want to make a mistake. What's the right thing to do?
Heaven help us. If we fail to pass this, I fear the worst is yet to come.
And a few members were even told that there would be martial law in America if we voted no.
They were ramming this thing down our throat. They wanted us to vote on it right away without any kind of thoughtful analysis of what
No
they were
real
doing.
hearings.
No real hearings. And I wasn't about to go. I got cornered into voting for the Iraq resolution based upon some lies that had been made to me, and I wasn't going to go through that again.
I will not wait on events while dangers gather. I will not stand by as peril draws closer and closer.
You use fear, and then you get down the track. And they created in this window, 2 months before election, this pressure cooker.
People understand that the House of Representatives needs to pass this piece of legislation.
Mr. Speaker, my message to the American people, don't let Congress seal this Wall Street deal. These criminals have so much political power, they can shut down the normal legislative process of the highest lawmaking body in this land. All the committees that should be scanning every word of what is being negotiated are benched, and that means the American people are benched too. We are constitutionally sworn to protect and defend this republic against all enemies, foreign and domestic.
They say it's going to be Y2K all over again. This is the same politics of fear we are hearing from the fat cat financial bullies from Wall Street.
Why aren't we asking Wall Street to clean up its own mess? Why aren't we helping American families faced with bankruptcy? Why aren't we reducing debts for Main Street instead of Wall Street? Is this the United States Congress or the board of directors of Goldman Sachs?
The night before the vote, the American people, in unprecedented numbers, flooded Capitol Hill with millions of messages demanding that Congress vote no.
The bailout package was defeated today, voted down in the House of Representatives.
The stock market plunged to the single greatest point loss in the Dow average in one day ever.
The question is this: is the failure of the bailout reason enough to vote all the incumbents out of office in 5 weeks?
12 votes killed it. So did the voices of a lot of the American people who called their representatives and said no. Then Congress voted no. Tonight, Congress has left town.
It was a rebuke that Congress and Wall Street had rarely, if ever, experienced. It was what the Citibank memo had warned against, that if the peasants ever chose to exercise their democratic rights, the pillaging by the wealthy would be over. So Paulson and company headed back up to Capitol Hill, and faster than you can say, "Check please," they cut a backroom deal with the help of the Democrats.
This issue supersedes an election. We need to get this right. We need to do it quickly.
I agree with the Secretary. It's not going to ultimately cost all these hundreds of billions. We will recover most of it, maybe all of it.
The Democrats became the delivery man for a bill for the Republican president.
Presidents and presidents-to-be made phone calls. And members, I know at least 2 members who have an interest in the U.S. Senate, and the promises were made.
Within days, the Congress did an amazing about-face and gave the banks the $700+ billion they wanted. The people be damned.
On this vote, the yeas are 263, the nays are 171. The motion is adopted.
It was very carefully planned to happen when it did, to involve the players that it did. The message was carefully handled. They had Congress right where they wanted them.
You don't think it was just happenstance?
No. This was almost like an intelligence operation. That had to be coordinated at the highest levels.
This whole fiasco shows you that there's some forces
that are not democratic.
Right, that are in control. Big time.
They did a masterful job. Very well executed.
Do you think it's too harsh to call what has happened here a coup d'etat, a financial coup d'etat?
That's no, because I think that's what's happened. A financial coup d'etat?
Yeah.
I could agree with that. I could agree with that because the people here really aren't in charge.